There's a specific kind of distance you might be feeling right now. Not from a person, not from a place, but from your own life. From the routines that used to ground you. From the goals that used to drive you. From the people you used to relate to easily, even from the version of yourself you thought you knew. It's subtle, not dramatic. You haven't lost anything obvious. Your life probably looks the same from the outside. But inside, there's this ... gap. This quiet separation. Like you're watching your life through glass instead of living it directly. The conversations feel hollow. The ambitions feel distant. The patterns feel automatic but empty. And if you're honest, it's been building for a while now. Slowly, quietly, without announcement. You might have tried to explain it. I'm just tired and need a break. Maybe it's burnout. But it doesn't feel like burnout. Burnout is collapse. This is something else. It's more like disconnection. Like the signal between you and your life has weakened. Like the frequency you've been operating on doesn't match anymore, and here's what makes it so disorienting. You haven't done anything wrong, you haven't failed, you haven't given up. If anything, you're more aware than you've ever been. More observant. More present in a strange, detached way. But that awareness doesn't translate into connection. It translates into distance. You see your life happening, but you're not quite in it. You go through the motions, but you're not quite moved by them. And most people, when they feel this panic, they think something's broken. They think they're losing themselves. They think they need to get back on track. But what if this disconnection isn't a problem? What if it's not emptiness or depression or spiritual bypassing? What if it's a signal? Not a signal that something's wrong with you, but a signal that something's shifting around you, that the frequency of your reality is changing, that the timeline you've been living in is loosening its grip, that space is being created for something new to emerge. You're not losing your life. You're outgrowing the container it's been held in, and that outgrowing that quiet, strange, unsettling. This connection isn't the end of something, it's the beginning of a pull you can't name yet, a pull you can't see yet, a pull that's coming from somewhere ahead of you, not behind. And if you're feeling this disconnection right now, if you recognize this distance, if this strange separation has been quietly building ... you're not alone, and you're not lost, you're being pulled forward. Here's where it gets interesting. Because while your motivation for old goals has faded, while your drive for familiar ambitions has quieted ... your awareness has sharpened. You're noticing things you never noticed before. Patterns in people, patterns in yourself, patterns in the way reality moves. You're more mentally clear than you've been in years, but you have no idea what to do with that clarity. You're more observant, more present, more attuned, but less driven, less motivated, less pulled to the things that used to pull you, and that creates a strange paradox. How can you be more aware but less motivated? How can you be more conscious but less active? How can you see more clearly but feel less compelled to move? Most people interpret this as decline, as stagnation, as evidence that something's wrong. They think, if I'm so aware, why can't I take action? If I'm so clear, why don't I know what to do next? But what if this isn't decline? What if it's transition? What if your internal orientation is shifting before your external direction appears? Think about it like this. When you're driving and you need to change directions, you don't keep accelerating forward while you turn the wheel. You slow down first. You adjust your orientation. You find the new direction internally before you move externally. That's what's happening to you, right? Now, your motivation for the old path has faded because your internal compass is real. Your drive for old goals has quieted because your direction is shifting. And during that reorientation, during that recalibration, you become more aware, more observant, more conscious of what's around you, not because you're trying to, but because you're not moving. And when you're not moving, you see more. You see the patterns you were too busy to notice before. You see the motivations that were driving you unconsciously. You see the version of reality you were operating in without questioning. And that seeing, that increased awareness is not a consolation prize for lost motivation, it's the preparation for new direction. You can't move in a new direction without first seeing where you've been. You can't enter a new timeline without first becoming aware of the one you're leaving. So this phase, this strange phase where your motivation is faded but your awareness has increased, is not emptiness. It's recalibration. It's a space between the old direction and the new one. And most people panic in this space because they think awareness should lead to action. They think clarity should lead to movement, but it doesn't. Not yet. First, awareness. Then, direction. Then, movement. You're in the awareness phase, and it's not a problem. It's the process. So if you're feeling this right now, if your old motivations have faded but your awareness has sharpened, you're not stuck. You're reorienting, and once the reorientation completes, once your internal compass finds its new direction, ... the motivation will return. But it won't be the old motivation. It'll be something new, something aligned with where you're actually going, not where you thought you were supposed to go. You've probably tried to force yourself back to the old routines, back to the old goals, back to the version of yourself that knew what they wanted and went after it. You've tried to recreate the motivation, tried to reignite the drive, tried to push yourself forward the way you used to, and it doesn't work. Not because you're not trying hard enough, not because you're lazy or unmotivated or broken, but because you can't force yourself back into a timeline you've already outgrown. Think about it. When you try to go back to the old habits, how does it feel? Heavy, forced, like you're dragging yourself through something that used to feel natural. The routines that used to energize you now exhaust you. The goals that used to excite you now feel empty. The identity that used to fit you now feels like a costume. And here's why. You're not the same frequency anymore. You've shifted internally, quietly, without an announcement. And when your frequency shifts, when your internal reality updates, trying to force yourself back into the old external reality creates resistance. Not the good kind of resistance. Not the push through it kind. The incompatibility kind. Like trying to fit a puzzle piece into the wrong space. Like trying to wear shoes that no longer fit your feet. It's not that you're doing it wrong, it's that it's no longer compatible with who you're becoming. And here's what most people don't realize. Past effort-based progress worked because you were moving within the same timeline. You could push, and the timeline responded. You could force, and momentum built. But when you're shifting timelines, when you're transitioning, frequency's effort doesn't create momentum. It creates friction because you're trying to move forward in a timeline you're no longer aligned with. So the resistance you're feeling when you're trying to force yourself back, that's not failure. That's your system protecting you. It's saying we're not going back there. That timeline is done. We're moving forward, even if we can't see it yet. And when you keep trying to force your way back, when you keep trying to recreate what used to work, all you do is exhaust yourself because you're fighting against your own evolution. You're trying to be someone you're not anymore. You're trying to want things you don't want anymore. You're trying to fit into a life that no longer fits you, and it's not going to work. Not because you're not strong enough, but because it's not meant to. The old timeline is closing. The old identity is dissolving. The old path is complete, and no amount of forcing, pushing, or trying harder is going to change that. So if you've been trying to force yourself back, if you've been exhausting yourself trying to recreate what used to work, you can stop now. Not because you're giving up, but because you're letting go. Letting go of the idea that you can return. Letting go of the belief that you should return because you're not going back. You're being pulled forward, and forward doesn't look like anything behind you. There's a phase that happens before every major shift in reality, a phase most people don't recognize because nothing appears to be happening. No dramatic events, no clear signs, no visible progress, just ... silence. A strange, suspended quiet where life feels paused, where time feels slow, where everything seems to be waiting for something you can't name. This is the silent phase. And if you're in it right now, you probably feel like you're stuck, like you're wasting time, like everyone else is moving forward while you're frozen in place, but you're not stuck, you're in reorganization. Think about what happens beneath the surface before a plant breaks through soil, before a butterfly emerges from a cocoon, before a wave builds in the ocean. There's always a silent phase, a period where nothing visible is happening, but everything essential is forming. The roots are growing, the structure is building, the energy is gathering. And during that phase, if you dug up the seed to check on it, if you forced the cocoon open too early, if you tried to rush the wave, you'd destroy what's forming. That's what the silent phase is. It's the invisible formation period, the underground restructuring, the quantum reorganization that has to happen before anything can manifest in your visible reality. And it's rare. Most people never experienced it, because most people never shift timelines. They move through life on the same frequency, the same trajectory, the same timeline. Their reality evolves gradually, predictably. But you're not in gradual evolution anymore. You're in timeline transition. And timeline transitions require a silent phase, a period where your external reality appears unchanged while your internal reality completely reorganizes itself. Your frequency is updating, your identity is restructuring, your quantum signature is recalibrating, and all of that happens in silence, in stillness, in this space where nothing seems to be happening. This is why forcing doesn't work. This is why effort feels wrong. This is why pushing creates friction, because you're in the formation phase, and a formation can't be rushed. You can't speed up the silent phase any more than you can speed up the gestation of a child or the growth of a tree. It has its own timeline, its own rhythm, its own intelligence, and your only job during this phase is to not interfere with it, not to panic because nothing's happening, not to force because you're impatient, not to abandon because you don't see results, just to let it be, to let the silence do its work, to let the reorganization complete itself. Because here's what most people don't understand. The silent phase isn't empty time. It's the most important time. It's the foundation building time, the frequency time, the timeline preparation time. And when it completes, when the reorganization finishes, when the formation solidifies, when the new timeline activates, everything moves, not gradually, not slowly, but suddenly, rapidly, all at once. What took months to form beneath the surface manifests in days. What reorganized invisibly becomes visible in moments, but only if you let the silent phase complete, only if you don't interrupt it with doubt, with force, with impatience. So if you're in the silent phase right now, if life feels paused, if nothing seems to be happening, if you're surrounded by this strange suspended quiet, you're not wasting time, you're in the most valuable phase of the entire process, the phase where everything necessary is happening, even though nothing visible is moving. So let it be silent, let it be still, let it complete itself, because what's forming in the silence is worth the wait. Here's something you've probably noticed. 2026 feels different, not in the way years usually feel different, not like a new year, a fresh start, new goals. It feels different in a way you can't quite articulate, like there's a pull coming from it, like it's not just a date on a calendar, but a direction, a frequency, a destination you're being moved toward, and you feel it now, even though 2026 hasn't arrived yet, even though there's no logical reason you should feel anything about a year that's still ahead, but you do. You feel it in the background of your awareness, in the undercurrent of your thoughts, in the quiet knowing that something is coming, not something you're creating, something you're being pulled into. And here's why this matters. Most years don't have this quality. More, and the year responds to that effort. But 2026 isn't responding to effort. It's exerting a pull. It's not waiting for you to plan your way into it. And that pull, that directional force, is what you're feeling right now. It's why you can't force yourself back into the old timeline. It's why motivation for old goals has faded. It's why disconnection has been building, because you're being but by the pull of what's ahead. And that pull doesn't come with instructions. It doesn't come with clarity. A sense, a subtle, persistent awareness that something is ahead of you that's bigger than what you've been living. You can't explain it, can't prove it. Like momentum, like a current beneath the surface pulling you forward. And most people, when they feel this pull, try to understand it, try to make sense of it so they can control it. But the pull doesn't respond to understanding. It doesn't respond to control. It responds to allowing, because we're trained to believe we should know, we should have a plan, we should be able to see the destination before we start moving. But timeline shifts don't work that way. You don't see the destination. You feel the direction. And 2026 is a direction, not a year, not a date, a directional frequency that's pulling everyone who's sensitive enough to feel it. You're being moved toward it right now. In the silent phase, in the space where motivation has faded but awareness has sharpened, all of that is the pull working. You don't need to know what 2026 actually holds. You just need to recognize that the pull is real, that the direction is set, that everything that's loosening, everything that's disconnecting, it's not loss, it's release. So you can move toward what's pulling you without the weight of what's behind you. 2026 isn't coming, it's pulling, and you're already in motion. Now let's talk about why this disconnection feels so physical, why it's not just mental or emotional, why your body feels it, why your nervous system is involved. Because disconnection isn't just a thought, it's a somatic experience, a felt sense in your body. You feel it as numbness, as detachment, as a strange, quiet absence of feeling that's different from sadness or depression. It's like your nervous system has dimmed the signal between you and your reality, like it's reduced the volume, like it's created distance as a protective measure. Here's why. Your nervous system is responding to transition when you're shifting timelines, when your frequency is updating, when your identity is reorganizing. Your nervous system recognizes that change is happening, and change, to your nervous system, equals potential threat. Not because the change is bad, but because change means the unknown. And the unknown triggers the nervous system's primary function, survival. So your nervous system does what it's designed to do. It creates distance. It reduces engagement. It pulls you back from full participation in your reality, not to harm you, to protect you. Because if you were fully engaged, fully connected, fully invested in a reality that's about to shift, shift would be more disorienting, more destabilizing, more overwhelming. So your nervous system creates a buffer, a cushion, a layer of disconnection that allows you to be present in your current reality without being fully attached to it. And that disconnection, that numbness, that detachment is not evidence that you're broken or depressed or shutting down. It's evidence that your nervous system is preparing you for transition. Think about it like this. When you're about to move to a new house, you start packing. You start detaching from the space. You stop decorating. You stop investing in improvements. Not because you hate the house, but because you know you're leaving. And detachment makes leaving easier. That's what your nervous system is doing. It's creating detachment from your current reality because it senses you're leaving it. And during that detachment phase, you feel disconnected. You feel numb. You feel like you're watching your life instead of living it. But that's not a problem. That's the process. Your nervous system is ahead of your conscious mind. It's already preparing for the shift, even though your mind doesn't know what the shift is yet. And here's what's important to understand. Your body always lags behind your awareness. Your awareness shifts first. Your frequency updates first. Your internal reality reorganizes first. But your body or nervous system takes time to catch up. It takes time to feel safe with a new frequency. It takes time to trust a new direction. And during that lag time, during that gap between internal shift and somatic integration, you feel disconnected, not because something's wrong, but because your body is still recalibrating. It's still adjusting to the new frequency, still learning to feel safe in the transition, still integrating what your awareness already knows. So if you're feeling this somatic disconnection right now, this numbness, this detachment, this quiet absence of feeling, it's not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that your nervous system is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, protecting you during transition, creating space for reorganization, preparing your body to land in the new timeline when it fully activates, and when your nervous system completes its recalibration, when your body catches up to where your awareness already is. The disconnection will dissolve, the feeling will return, the engagement will reactivate, but not with the old reality, with the new one. Here's one of the hardest parts of this transition: the loneliness. Not the loneliness of being alone, but the loneliness of being between worlds, of having outgrown the people, places, and environments that used to feel like home, but not yet finding the ones that will. You're in the gap, the space between belonging, and in that space you're alone, not by choice, but by frequency. Because when your frequency shifts, when your internal reality updates, you stop resonating with the people and places you used to resonate with. The conversations feel, the relationships feel distant. The communities you used to belong to feel like they're speaking a different language now, and you can't force resonance. You can't fake belonging. You can't pretend you still fit when everything inside you knows you don't, so you pull back. You withdraw, not to isolate yourself, but because staying feels more exhausting than leaving, and that withdrawal, that quiet stepping back from what used to feel like home, is one of the loneliest experiences there is, because you're not just leaving environments, you're leaving identity. You're leaving the version of yourself that belonged in those spaces. And the new version, the one that's emerging, the one that's being pulled forward, doesn't have a home yet. It doesn't have a community. It doesn't have a belonging place. It doesn't have people who see it, recognize it, understand it. So you're suspended between the old belonging you've outgrown and the new belonging you haven't found yet. And most people, when they feel this loneliness, panic. They think something's wrong. They think they're doing it wrong. They think they need to fix it by forcing connection, by trying harder to fit in, by returning to what used to work but you can't return. And forcing connection only creates more exhaustion, because the loneliness isn't a problem. It's a clearing. It's the space that has to open up between the old and the new. It's the emptiness that has to be created before something new can fill it. Think about it like this. If you want to redecorate a room, you have to empty it first. You have to remove the old furniture, the old decorations, the old structure. And during that removal phase, the room feels empty, lonely, unfamiliar. But that emptiness isn't permanent. It's preparatory. It's creating space for what's coming, for the new environment, for the new belonging. And right now, you're in that clearing phase. The old belonging has been removed. The old resonance has faded. The old environments have been outgrown, and the new ones haven't appeared yet, not because they're not coming, but because clarity comes before belonging. You have to become clear about who you are, what you're becoming, what frequency you're operating on, before you can find the people and places that match that frequency. You can't skip the clarity phase and go straight to belonging, because if you did, you'd belong to the wrong things. You'd connect with people who match your old frequency, not your new one. Said loneliness, the gap, the tweak, the space where you belong. Nowhere is not abandonment, it's preparation. It's the clearing phase. It's the moment between outgrowing and arriving, and it's temporary. Not in the sense that it will end tomorrow, but in the sense that it's not your permanent state. Once your clarity solidifies, once your frequencies, once your new identity fully emerges, the belonging will come, the resonance will return, the community will appear, not the old one, a new one that matches who you're becoming, not who you were. But first, the clearing. First, the loneliness. First, the space. And if you're in that space right now, if you're feeling the loneliness of transition, the isolation of outgrowing, the gap between belonging and belonging, you're not doing it wrong. You're right where you need to be, in the clearing. Becoming clear, so you can belong to what's actually meant for you, not what used to be comfortable. There's something pulling you forward. You can feel it, even if you can't name it, even if you can't see it, even if you have no idea what it is. It's not a goal, it's not a vision. It's not something you created or planned or decided to pursue. It's just ... there, in the background, in the undercurrent, in the quiet knowing that something is ahead of you, something undefined, something formless, something that hasn't taken shape yet but is already exerting force. And that pull, that unnamed, unseen, undefined pull's more real than any goal you've ever set. Because goals come from your mind, from your will, from your idea of what you should want or where you should go. But this pull comes from somewhere else, somewhere deeper, somewhere beyond your conscious awareness. It's not something you're choosing. It's something you're being moved by. And most people, when they feel this pull, try to name it, try to define it, try to turn it into something concrete so they can understand it, plan for it, control it. But the pull resists definition. It doesn't want to be named yet. It doesn't want to be seen clearly yet, because if you defined it too early, you'd limit it. You'd reduce it to what your mind can understand, what your past experience can recognize, what your current identity can handle. And the pull is bigger than all of that. It's beyond what you can currently comprehend, beyond what your mind can currently hold. So it stays undefined, unnamed, formless, just a direction, just a force, just a knowing that you're being moved towards something. And here's what makes this pull different from goals or desires or plans. It doesn't depend on outcomes. You're not being pulled toward a specific result. You're not being drawn to a particular achievement or milestone or destination. You're being pulled toward a frequency, toward an alignment, toward a version of reality that matches who you're becoming. And that reality, that frequency, that alignment hasn't formed yet. It's still emerging and still organizing itself around the new version of you that's being pulled forward, so you can't see it. You can't define it. You can't describe what it looks like or what it contains. All you can do is feel the pull and trust it and let it move you without needing to know where it's moving you to. And that requires a completely different relationship with reality than most people are used to. Most people need to see before they move, need to know before they trust, need to understand before they allow. But the pull doesn't work that way. The pull requires you to move before you see, to trust before you know, to allow before you understand. It requires you to be pulled by something you can't name, toward something you can't see, into something you can't define. And that's not faith in the sense of believing something without evidence. That's trust in the sense of feeling the pull and not resisting it, feeling the direction and not demanding clarity, feeling the movement and not demanding destination, because the pull is evidence, not of what's ahead, but of what's happening right now. You're being moved. You're being pulled into alignment with something that hasn't formed yet but is already forming around you. And the pull itself, that unnamed, undefined, directional force, is the only guidance you need. Not because it tells you where you're going, but because it confirms you're moving. And movement is enough. Direction is enough. Pull is enough. You don't need to name it. You don't need to see it. You don't need to know what it is. You just need to feel it and let it pull you forward. Because whatever's pulling you is already aligned with who you're becoming. It's the hardest part. Letting go when you don't know what's next. Releasing certainty without receiving new certainty in return. Leaving the known without arriving at the known. Most people can't do it because we're trained to believe that letting go requires a landing place, that you don't leave until you know where you're going. But timeline transitions don't work that way. You have to let go first. You have to release your grip on what is before you can receive what's coming. And during that release, during that period where you've let go but nothing new has appeared yet, you're in free fall. No ground beneath you, no certainty holding you, no structure supporting you, just ... space, open space, undefined space, space where anything could happen but nothing has happened yet. And that space is terrifying for most people because it feels like loss, like emptiness, like you've given up something real for something that might not even exist. But here's the truth. You can't hold the old and receive the new at the same time. Your hands have to be empty to receive what's come, and your identity has to be open to become what's emerging. Your reality has to have space to reorganize itself. And that means letting go without knowing, releasing without receiving, leaving without arriving. It means living in the gap, in the uncertainty, in the space where control doesn't work and trust is the only option. And most people, when they reach this point, panic. They reach back for the old. They try to regrip what they just released. They try to return to certainty even though certainty doesn't fit them anymore. But you can't go back. The old timeline is closed. The old identity is dissolved. The old reality is no longer accessible. So the only option is forward into the unknown, into the undefined, into the space where nothing is certain but everything is possible. And that's not a passive surrender. That's not giving up. That's not defeat. That's trust-based living. That's allowing reality to unfold without trying to control it. That's letting yourself be moved without demanding to see the destination first. It's the opposite of control-based living, where you plan, manage, and force your way forward, where you don't move unless you know where you're going. Trust-based living moves first and sees later. Releases first and receives later. Lets go first and lands later. And it's not blind faith. It's not naive optimism. It's not pretending everything will work out. It's recognizing that you're being pulled, that the pull is real, that the direction is set even if the destination isn't visible, and trusting that pull enough to let go, to release your grip, to stop trying to control what's unfolding. Because control blocks the pull. Control prevents the shift. Control keeps you locked in the old timeline even when the new one is trying to activate. So if you're at this point, if you're facing the choice between holding on to what's known or letting go into what's unknown, this is your moment, not to decide, but to release, to let go, to trust without knowing what's next, without seeing what's coming, without certainty about where you'll land, just letting go, and trusting the pull to carry you forward. And now we arrive at the end. But it's not really an end, it's a settling, a recognition, an acceptance of where you actually are. You're in transition, between timelines, between identities, between realities. And you can resist that transition, fight it, force through it, try to speed it up, or you can settle into it. Settling doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean stopping. It doesn't mean accepting defeat. It means recognizing that transition has its own rhythm, its own timeline, its own intelligence. And your job isn't to control it. Your job is to move with it, to let it unfold, to trust its process. Because nothing is wrong, nothing is missing, nothing is delayed. You're exactly where you need to be, in the silent phase, in the disconnection, in the clearing, in the space between what was and what's coming. And that space, that transition, is not a problem to solve. It's a process to allow. So settle into it. Stop resisting the disconnection. Stop fighting the silence. Stop forcing yourself back into what no longer fits. Just be here in the gap, in the unknown, in the space where nothing is certain but everything is shifting. Because 2026 is pulling you forward, not through effort, not through control, but through allowing, through trust, through settling into the transition instead of resisting it. And when you settle, when you stop fighting, when you stop forcing, when you stop demanding clarity before it's ready to arrive, something shifts. The transition stops feeling like a problem. The disconnection stops feeling like loss. The silence stops feeling like stagnation. And it starts feeling like what it actually is. Preparation, recalibration, reorganization. You're not stuck, you're not lost, you're not behind. You're in motion, you're being pulled, you're transitioning into something new, and all you have to do is let it happen. Settle into it. Trust it, because 2026 isn't waiting for you to be ready. It's pulling you into readiness. And the pull is already working. You're already in motion, already transitioning, already being moved forward. So stop resisting. Settle in and let the pull carry you, because it knows where you're going. Even if you don't